puts their name out, as Valley puts their name out there, you guys are the ones that people are saying, hey, can I ask you about this? Can I ask you about that? Because you're going to be stationed in certain areas based on how where John assigned you, and you're the face of the company. If you don't know, just simply say, you know what, that's a great question. I don't know that, but John would be happy to talk to you. If he's busy or tied up, get their name and number and pass it along to him. That is a great way, because we as CEOs, as John said, I do run my own organization. We can't talk to everybody there that day. We want to, and we want to get back to everybody there. It's physically impossible. So you guys are ambassadors. You're the ones that are saying, well, I can get you to John. I can do that. Give me your name and number. I'll make sure he contacts you. And then that prioritizes him on the list, because he will contact everybody, but it's going to take some time to contact that many people. So any questions thus far about the model and how that works and where we are in that? Because John's work is literally just beginning after this event. He's done a lot of work up until now, but after this event is the pivotal place to put him on a trajectory to build relationships to get more support. So this is a really critical piece. But any thoughts or questions? Hi, Rob, by the way. Okay, so I'm going to see if this will let me share my screen. It says, John, you have to allow me to do so. You're on mute, so I don't know if you've done that or not.
I'm doing that right now. And Rob, you were raising your hand. I didn't know if that was a hello.
No, I think he was saying hi because I said hi.
How's your day, Carol?
It's been good. It's been good.
Good.
Hope yours has.
Yes.
Okay.
And Carol, for some people may not have had a chance, Rob Shank, down in the corner, it says Shank R, is our board chair, just so you know.
Yeah, this is not, let's see if it's going to let me do this, John.
Okay.
Because it's on the same. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. It took me a couple clicks to get there because it didn't line up like I thought it was going to. All right, so we're going to start. This night is really orchestrated for very, very detailed. Like we are down in the timeline to the minute of how many minutes a speaker has, how much time we have to introduce the next speaker. So everything is done really, really carefully. So it starts with the pre-event stuff, which is mostly John and Melanie's work in there too. They are creating a table list of, if say Rob is hosting a table, he brings his guests, he will have given John his list of guests. John will then know how to get those people to the right table based on that list. So that's really critical, and he and I will work on that some more today to make sure we have the contact information. Jim Flessa and Jim Murphy are going to be setting up and taking down what's called the step and repeat banner. That will actually go on the stage. So you all will need to get there a little bit early so you have time to help set that up. And then we have people that are doing, again, this is pre-event work. Alicia's working on creating the name tags and putting them in alphabetical order, also creating the legend for the tables, again, so we know where to put people. I will be there about 3 o'clock with John, and we will make sure that the tables, along with Melanie, Emma, and Glenn, will help make sure that the tables are set appropriately for specific things. Now, the caterer is going to take care of the food items, but on each table, and you all remember, this is a fundraiser, so we will be asking for money this night. But on that, we will have that beautiful case document. Then we'll have a pledge card. There will be a paper clip on each pledge card. John's like, here's that beautiful case document. Yeah, that's awesome. And so I don't know if everybody can see your screen depending on how they have it side by side with gallery view versus speaker view. If you are in speaker view, you're only seeing the person talking, and John's showing pictures. So if you put it in gallery view and then move your screen, John's video is on, so you should be able to see him also. But that pledge card will have a paper clip because people will bring checks, and then each program will be placed inside the case document. That will all be clipped together with a pen, which John's already got pens. So we'll have those pieces ready, and then Melanie, Emma, and Glenn will help us put those on the table. Anybody that's there that wants a job, just ask me. There's lots of things to do. We don't have to just have these 3 people doing that. We can all jump in and work together, which works best when we do it that way. So then we get into the events going to start. So the event on the invitation says 5:30, John, correct? You're on mute. He's saying yes. Okay. We will have people arriving by 4:30, 4:45. Just because that's what people do. They think they're going to get a better seat. They think they're going to whatever. They get there early. So we will have registration open. But we have 2 people, Christy and Sheila, will be what we call outside greeters. Now, this will be adjusted if the weather is bad. But for right now, you are going to be standing outside the door at the patio space. It is valet parking. So they will pull up, get out. Valet will take their car. They will start walking up the sidewalk. There is a ramp, or they can come up the stairs. You guys are going to open the door for them, thank them so much for coming, and you are the first person they see and their first impression of Valley. So it's a very important position. You're going to ask them to come in the door, and then they will be directed to registration. So Sue is going to be right inside the door, making sure that they get to the shortest line. We will have 4 people doing registration. I'll get into the details of that because that's a big deal. But Sue will then say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming. Everybody is thanking people for coming. Everybody is smiling. And then Sue will say, this line's a little bit shorter. You can get over here faster. We want everybody to go through registration. Nobody skips registration. There have been times at events where I've had the CEO, and I'm going to kick John in the shin if he does this. He comes and gets somebody because he knows them, and he's trying to, make them feel important, which is great, but they skip registration. And I literally had a CEO that took 12 people through registration, and she knew them, but she didn't have any contact information. So we missed 12 people in their contact information because the CEO allowed them to skip the line. And so John will not do that, I promise you. But Sue, that's kind of where you're catching everybody, and you're saying, okay, please get to registration. We'll get you as quickly as we can. So the people doing registration, this is kind of key point, because just what I said a few minutes ago, this is John's starting point. This event is John's starting point. Yes, people will donate money that night, but this is the beginning of the relationship. We call this a first gift. Then John goes to work and builds the relationship to see why did they donate that night and what are they interested in, and can we turn this into long-term support. And so that's really important. So Kim, Mark, Maria, and Jem are doing registration. So the way registration works is you guys will have the name tags in alphabetical order that Alicia has put together for you. The person will come up, and you're working together alongside of the host and hostesses, which I'll go over their position in a minute. So just know you're going to hand the name tag to the host or hostess. You are not giving the name tag to the guest. They will give you their name. You'll pull out their name tag, and you will verify their information. Do you have their name correct? Is the spelling correct? Do you have their phone number? And you don't say, can I have your phone number? You say, what is the best phone number to reach you? You don't ask them, if you don't have a phone number, you're not verifying it. You're saying, what is the best number to reach you? They're going to give you a number. Then you're going to say, can you get an email and a physical address? They may say, why do you need my physical address? And you say, well, we're going to take your picture over here and we need to be able to mail it to you. Well, why do you need my phone number? I need your phone number because John's going to call you. We'd love to have him chat with you about what you think of the event. If they don't give it to you, obviously they don't give it to you, but try to get that information. Don't give them an excuse. Don't ask them a yes or no question like, hey, will you please give me your number? Because that's easy to say no. But if you say, what's the best number to reach you? then they're more likely to give you the number. So it's really about asking them for that information in a great way. If for some reason you've got no information on them, John will have clipboards that have that information. Ask them to fill it out. Then read it, because there's sometimes that people write things out and you have no idea what they've written because you can't read their handwriting. So if you can't read it, verify it. Say, is this a 3 or is this an 8? Or is this a 5? What is it? And verify that you can actually read it. Then again, thank them. And then we get into the hostess and host. Yes, John.
Sure, just so I can emphasize that I'll have the clipboard and getting the information. So I've been working hard to make sure that I don't get just a name with no address, but I do have a few that I need that information. And again, it will make life a lot easier for me after the event so that I can follow up and start building those relationships. So it's just really crucial. And it saves me trying to meet 250 people is going to take time.
Right.
I don't want to waste that time trying to research and Google and all that. So you front people are very important.
Yeah, the registration is really key to a successful event, because again, it's not about the event. It's about being able to contact them after the event. And the address is the easiest thing to get, because you are saying to them that you're going to mail them a photograph, which we will be doing, and a thank you note. But John is absolutely right. This is a critical position to have. Okay, host and hostess. This is where you're going to meet your guests at the registration table. Jim, John, whoever's there, Kim, Mark, Maria, Jim, they are going to hand you the name tag. You're going to say, again, welcome, we're glad you're there. Please come with me, let's go get a photograph taken. You will also have a list of assigned tables. That name tag will also have the table number, not the host, the table host name. So John will have it both ways. You will have, every hostess will have a way to look up who's sitting where. So if it says on their name tag, table 10, you will go to John's list that says table 10. You will know that that's Mark's table. And you say, oh, Mark's so excited to have you here tonight. There you go. We're looking forward to seeing you. Thanks for coming. So then you're going to walk them over to the photographer. You're going to then put the name tag on a table. The photographer takes a picture of the name tag and a picture of the guest. Now that's critical, because that person, and most of you all I think are in the age group that you will know what a Rolodex is. That photographer will create a Rolodex for John to be able to go back to say, who am I meeting for lunch? What does Rob Shank look like? And so they'll have a picture of who that is so that he knows who he's meeting. That's really, really important. He will also, the photographer will have printed for you all a picture of the person standing next to your banner. There's that Rolodex he created from the awareness event. Name and photograph. That's beautiful. And then he will then, with a group of you all, have you send out that photograph with a handwritten thank you note the next day that says, thank you so much for attending this event, right? And so please, we look forward to speaking with you soon. That goes in the mail the next day. So this piece of host and hostess is vitally important. We will have a group that walks you. If you look over to the third column, it'll say between registration and photographer, right? That's the person that goes to registration, puts the picture on, or the name tag on the table. Then you have between the photographer and the table. That person, after the picture's done, picks up the name tag, hands it to the guest, and then walks them to their table. You're not saying, hey, over there's table 10. You're escorting them to the table. Now that gets a little dicey because it's going to be a lot of people quickly trying to move. So you may end up saying, hey, table 10's over there. But if you've got time, really roll out that red carpet, make them feel very important and very welcome, and get them to their table. Then we have a, yes, sir.
Carol, I just also want to say some of the table hosts have been instructed to be looking for their guests because that's their table, their guest. And so you may have a table host come up to meet you after the photograph, and they may take that guest because we did convey that we want them to treat it like it's their party, their people as well.
Yep. And that will happen for sure. What you don't want is that table host to skip the photo booth, right? Or skip registration. When you walk in the door, I don't know how many of you all have been to this venue. When you walk in the door, there's a space to the left, then there's a staircase in the middle and a space to the right. We are going to have blocked off where they cannot go around to the right. They have to kind of funnel through the way we want them to funnel through. So yes, there will be people that greet there, and that's perfectly fine after the photograph. We don't want our table host coming back around and kind of thinking they're doing a favor to help get people through by not going through the steps that we want them to go through. John, has people assigned to these spaces. So Alicia and Kelsey are between registration and photography. Victoria is between photography and tables. Melanie is between photography and tables. And then Emma is going to stay at the photography to keep the line moving. Now, I know that seems kind of crazy, but what happens is that photography booth gets jammed up with people literally picking up their purses and putting their purses down, taking their sweater on, taking their sweater off. So Emma, your job is to kind of help them with their purse. You know, you're holding it with them. You're saying, step over here, I'll give it back to you over here, so that we're keeping that line moving. That's really, really important to keep the flow. If we mess up the flow, it gets jammed up. Johnny, anything else you want to add to the host and hostess piece?
No, I think those are all good key points. And, you know, again, you want to keep it flowing. We've got 250 plus. We could have more actually coming through. And so we want to make it a good flow
Yeah, that's
for
awesome.
everybody. So
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so this is another critical piece, and this is Pamela, Kim, Melanie, Alicia. And Mark and Paul, I will address what you're going to do in a second. So when we go through the whole event, I will step them through the ask. Now, what that means is I'm going to literally be talking about how much money we're asking for, what our goals are for that night, and how we're going to get that. I'm going to break it down for them so they understand how to do pledges and they can pledge for multiple years, things like that. I will walk them through. Okay, everybody, take out your pen and your pencil. Take out your pledge card. Let's go ahead and fill this out together. Okay, name, write your name in there. And this is tedious, but it's really important. Now, where you all come in this, all of you, everybody needs to do a pledge card. If you are not going to be able to give any money at all that night, that's okay. You can put on there, I love this organization and I will continue to volunteer forever, whatever it is, right? You can put an in-kind donation on there. But it is really important that everybody goes through the motion of filling out that card. If you all don't do it, the other people in the room are not going to do it. So we have to have that momentum of everybody filling out the cards. As soon as we get through the ask, I will ask for Pamela and Kim and Melanie. I will not call you by name. I'll just say, hey, can my folks come up that are going to help collect these pledge cards? You guys will then have some baskets that John will have available for you, that you literally will walk around with the basket. Think of collection at church, right? And you're asking people to put their pledge cards in there. Most people will fold them in half. That's perfectly fine. Whoever it ends up being that's catching those first couple of tables, as soon as we have 10 or 12 cards, we need to go ahead and start counting those. So bring those up to Mark and Paul, and then you're going to take the baskets back out and keep collecting until the whole room is collected. And then just keep bringing them up. Now, Mark and Paul, your role is really important. You will take that pledge card and you will write a big number across the top of whatever the math ends up being. So you're going to see the card and it may say $50 a month for 5 years. You've got to do that math really quick, and then you're writing the total at the top. If they say they're doing $85 a month for 3 years, that's a $5,000 gift. Okay. And I will have broken that math down for them so they understand what they can give to get to that point. And so if they say I'm doing $5,000, $1,000 a year for 5 years, or I'm doing whatever they say they're doing, you're going to work out the math. So you're going to need your phone with a calculator on it or a calculator, and you're going to write a big number across the top. If it is a multi-year gift, make sure you multiply it out. Do not assume they're doing a multi-year gift, but if they are, then if they're saying they're doing $1,000 and they've checked for 3 years, it's a $3,000 gift. You will then hand that card to my co-MC, which is Julie. Julie will not read the name, but we do a live tally, right? We've set the goal. We know what it is. Let's say it's $100,000. You hand the card to Julie. Julie reads $3,000, $50, $500. Now, while she's reading those out, and again, there are no names attached to it, if there's an in-kind donation, hand her that. And she can say, well, this person's wishing us great luck. They're going to be volunteering for the next 10 years, whatever it says, right? She will decide whether she's going to read that out loud or how she's going to say that. I will literally be sitting there on my phone, adding up the numbers that she's shouting out. At the end of all of that, when all the cards are done, we will make an announcement of how much money we have raised that night. And then we will all celebrate. It's really exciting. I promise you it works. It's a little awkward sometimes for other people like, ah, and I'm like, nope, it works. When I did it the first time, I'm getting ready to have my 5th event. I was like, oh, Lewis, this is weird. It was beautiful and it worked amazingly. And we raised over $400,000 that night. So it's really important that this piece be done well, right? So Mark and Paul, that's your role. There is a part in the program at the beginning of the program where John is doing some awards. And I'm not going to go over what the awards are just because it's going to take up too much time. But I also, some of them are surprises, so I don't want to give up those surprises. But Pamela, Christy, Cam, Kendra, and Paul, you're going to be handed an award, and then when we recognize that person, you're going to hand off that award. Now, Rob, there are some awards that you and John will be giving that is separate than the ones that we're taking out to the audience. So you all that are taking the awards to the table, we're literally asking people to stand, and Pamela through Paul, those 5 people will carry this parchment to them and present them at their table, where some of the other people will actually come up and Rob and John will do a presentation. Again, the cleanup piece is vital. Everyone's going to be exhausted. It's an emotional exhaustion, but it's also a physical exhaustion. So please stick around and help clean up if you can. More hands makes for light work. So there's a lot to do at the end. John will designate one person, and I believe, John, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll be Mark. We will hand the pledge cards to you, Mark, and you are responsible because on that pledge card, there is a place for credit card information. So those pledge cards are cash. They are just like cash. They're also important, even if they just said, I'm going to pledge $1,000 for 3 years, because that's a $3,000 check basically. And John has to be able to follow up with those people on those pledges. So Mark, you're going to be the contact that we're going to hand, and you probably need to be responsible for having a bank bag or some sort of bag. I have put them back in the baskets and just put them in your hand. But that's important, Mark, that you know you're the one that's carrying those pledges and need to get that back to John, or however you all do that internally to make sure checks get deposited, recorded, deposited, and then all pledge cards get to John. So I've talked for 20 minutes and I would like to pause and kind of go back through this with everybody and say, what are any questions that you might have?
I have a question.
Yes.
Well, actually,
By the way.
what's that?
I said hi, by the way.
Actually, I have a couple things. I think I missed something that you said when you were talking about the award runners.
we get to that.
You mentioned that people are going to stand at their tables to receive the awards, but then there's some that will be coming up. So should the award runner volunteers be split into 2 groups, or how do you want to arrange that?
So the ones that are coming, great question. The ones that are coming up, no, they will be coming up because we will call them forward. The ones that are the faith-based groups, we will literally say, will the following people please stand?
Okay, so
Right.
that the award runners will go to the people standing at their tables.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then my other question is more general, but if you could go over the timeline just so that each set of volunteers knows what time they should arrive and what time they should be starting their duties, that would be great.
Yeah. So I believe John wants all of the volunteers to be there by 3:30, except the people that are doing registration and these other people doing setup. So if you are like an outside greeter, but you're not assigned to any of the setup piece, you can be there at 3:30. If you're assigned to all of this stuff up here, you need to be there by 3 o'clock. John, is that correct? Is that how you want that done?
Can you repeat that, Carol?
Anybody that's doing preset stuff at 3 o'clock.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody that's coming after and they're not on this list of preset stuff should get there no later than 3:30.
Yes.
And I know there are a couple of volunteers that are an exception to that. I know Paul and Sue, their timing will be a little bit different. Can't remember if there's anybody else.
Yeah, we
But-
worked that out, Carol, that there are 2
Yeah,
people who can't get there.
Yeah, that's fine. If you guys know, I don't need to necessarily know that, as long as y'all know that and you've got enough people doing, to get things done.
So is
Yes,
everybody?
Marie. Oh, sorry, Alicia, were you done?
No, yeah, I was done. I just wanted to check if all the volunteers are comfortable with that timing, if that works for everybody, but that's fine.
Yeah, Marie had a question. You're on mute though. I'm going to stop sharing this screen so that I can see you all, and that will help. Okay.
Maria,
Maria,
you're on mute.
You got to unmute.
Okay.
There you
No, I have a speaker, a possible speaker. She would really like to speak. She's someone from Juliet's Hope that was one of the originals here in Lockland, and Dr. Ron will remember her. Her name is Annie Franzik, and she has come quite a long way. And I mean, from Juliet's Hope to she's also working at Resurge now, and she has a car, she has an apartment. She has done really well because of us, like going there for so long and everything. And I just wondered if he would like to have her as a speaker. Because
John, I'm going to hand that to you because that's really, you're the one
Yeah,
doing that.
Maria, we'll talk offline about that. This might not be the event or the timing,
okay.
because things are already in motion. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
again, this is going to be a repeated cycle. So with luncheons, et cetera. But for this event, I actually have extra standbys just in case.
Oh, okay.
I was worried I'd need a standby for Glenn, but Glenn, there's no standby for you. You're going to be the star.
Yes.
I said you
Glenn,
were-
I'm thrilled to have you talking. I think that's going to be awesome. You have a great story. Okay. Yeah, and we've got a lot of the details already worked out, Maria, but I think that's beautiful that you're thinking in that way because as this is a repeat cycle, like I was saying, I'm on the 5th cycle for Healing Strides. It gets where it's like, oh wow, I've got to keep really finding some great stories because they're there, right? It's wonderful when you have an abundance of people. So that's awesome. Good information. Thank you.
Just a question on, is there a dress code? Do you want us in suits, business casual?
Yeah. Go ahead, John.
No, it's just
You were chomping at the bit.
no, it's business attire. So I think Dr. Ron asked. I know this. Some people are gonna be coming from work and may have a suit, or they may have a sports jacket and a shirt underneath. They could have a tie. I think definitely business attire, however you look at that, is appropriate for this.
Okay.
Yep, that's great.
That's
Okay,
always-
any other? Rob said he had to leave. He put that in the chat for everybody. Nice comment. Okay, any other thoughts or questions? Ron, were you going to say something? Okay.
You're on mute,
You're-
Dr. Ron. He drove 13 hours, so he's
Okay, no, I don't have any questions.
All right.
Pretty clear.
Right. That you guys are awesome. I really appreciate you jumping on here, and I know some people are going to watch the recording, so you are welcome to contact myself. Alicia, you had a question?
Yes, I just remembered something. I wanted to let the volunteers know as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, but I think you said this. All of you are also invites to the event to attend, and so when you're not in the middle of the duties on this list, you have a table and a seat to be in attendance at the event. Is that right, John?
Yeah, perfect, Alicia. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, you all have a seat at a table. Where you're at isn't finalized yet. You'll probably find out that day. But I'm being strategic that we have some people who may have a seat open. And so I want you to meet some of these people. So as Carol said, you're our ambassadors. I want to put you at some tables where you'll engage, you'll learn, and then I hope you'll come share with me that, oh, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so really enjoyed hearing about this, and they can't wait to talk to you more. That information is really helpful for me because I may not get to meet everybody that night, and having that just helps me open the door. But you all will be served a meal like everybody else. And as things happen, you might have to get up and sit down, but you'll be able to enjoy the experience like everybody else, even when you're doing your duties during the dinner.
It's a super event, and yes, please stay, because what I promise you is, as much as you think you may know, you'll probably learn something about this great organization.
John, it's probably on one of the attachments you sent earlier, but what is the start time and then the approximate end time?
So Carol said for volunteers, and Jim, you're a part of the.
Yeah, I'll be there at 3, but
Okay.
I'm just wondering about the program
The
itself.
program is 5:30, but we anticipate if it's like the awareness luncheon, people were there. We had people an hour early. We were still trying to set up, and some people showed up. So we're anticipating 4:45 people will show up. And the end time, and this is one of the great things about the process, this is all very time. What would be the word I'm looking for, Carol? It's timed out.
Yeah.
So every speaker knows how much time they have. We know we're going to end at 8:30, and I'm sort of the gap speaker. So Carol will whisper in my ear, like, John, you have 5 minutes. John, you have 10 minutes. And so that way we're staying on time for everything going on. But we will end at 8:30. Correct, Carol?
Yes, absolutely. And that typically I've had 2 events over the last 5 years, not at my place, but at others, that it ran over because our keynote went really long. And I was looking at the CEO and saying, do you want me to stop it? And they're like, no, they're gold. And it was a positive run over time and people were okay. But because the ask is at the end of the event, we don't want to wear people out before they're, we don't want people going, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted, because it's a lot to listen to an hour program. So,
I don't expect our keynote to go over.
No, I don't think he will either.
But he definitely has changed what he wants to do. He's
awesome.
Really excited about what we're doing in this process. So he's Carol and I will be working on that scheduling part of it, but I think he'll be wonderful to listen to.
Okay, you guys are super. I put my phone number in the chat. If you guys have any questions, you're welcome to text me or call me, and grab that out of the chat. It's 540-537-5947. Glenn, you and I need to catch up at some point. I know we've got some calls going out. So You guys are awesome. I can't wait till the 28th. All I got, John, unless you got something else.
No, I just want to thank everybody. This, the last 3 years have been rough for everybody. Carol runs a nonprofit. Every nonprofit's being hit really hard, and we need to change how we look at things. And the reality is that to do the mission that we're doing, there's cost to it, and we need to rethink that. But what is great about this event, it's not about the money; it's about expanding our sphere of influence. And just the luncheon where you didn't ask anybody for any money at all has generated this buzz about Valley that we've not had since I've been here. And I can tell you that I've talked to former board members who haven't been around. I talked to one that left in the 90s, one in the 2000s. They've not felt this buzz. And some of these former board members are coming to this event, and they haven't been around for 10 plus years. And so it's creating an excitement for what we're doing. And not only that, I think, again, you will hear great stories.